Good evening. I, along with Mr. Charles Campbell, who appeared at the September 1st hearing, represent the Bachua family and South Bay Drugs with regard to this matter. I apologize for Mr. Campbell's absence tonight, but he's ill. It has been for 3 days, so I think it's really true. At the September 1st meeting, Mr. Campbell submitted a letter to the council and to staff, I believe, that set forth a comprehensive outline of the facts and the status of this matter up to that point in time. I think at this point in time, now that we've moved 2 weeks down the road, that his report set forth in his September 1st letter remains accurate. The status is still the same. The only reason I'm here tonight, because nothing really has changed, is to reiterate to you, Honorable Mayor and Councilman and staff, our request that the resolution of necessity be adopted. And we would also request that your special counsel, who's representing the agency in this matter, be authorized to negotiate a global settlement of both the condemnation action and the pending appeal with the Bachua family and South Bay Drugs. I'm willing to answer any questions if you have any at this time.
Just to inform you, we were given, once again, a copy of that letter from September 1st. It was in our agenda packages here.
Thank you very much.
Do I have any initial questions, Ms. Clark? Not seeing any? I would appreciate, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Beamer, is there a chance maybe you can give us a little bit of background on the what we've gone through to get to this stage here?
Certainly. One of the first steps that the redevelopment agency undertook in this case was to hire Epic Solutions to go out and offer relocation assistance. And several proposed sites were provided to South Bay Drugs, all of which did not meet their needs according to South Bay Drugs. Epic Solutions continues to work with South Bay Drugs in an effort to move them into the community at a different location. If that is not the case, then Epic Solutions will work very closely with South Bay Drugs to move South Bay Drugs to wherever they deem appropriate. So efforts have been undertaken by a consultant paid for by the redevelopment agency. We also have been trying to obtain documentation to support any type of additional compensation South Bay Drugs would be entitled to in light of this relocation, so that we can reach a global resolution with South Bay Drugs. I am ready, willing, and able to sit down with Mr. Campbell and try to negotiate this globally. What I need at this point, however, is documentation, Mayor, to substantiate any numbers that are being offered for resolution purposes. So
I have a question that might help not just myself, but perhaps some in the audience and so forth. When you say documents for substantiation, I mean, we come out with, and what you're talking about is obviously a money settlement here, if that's what it takes, without being able to find them a spot to relocate. But as a redevelopment agency, and as we sit here as redevelopment, our hands are tied as far as we can't just write a check for X amount. We have to have justification for that. Is that the way that works?
That's correct, Mayor. Under relocation, there's really 4 general categories that you address. One is the value of the lease, if any. Relocation is another. Compensation for fixtures and equipment is a third. And then lastly, goodwill. So you analyze those 4 components, and from a consultant standpoint on the redevelopment side, you come up with numbers, reasonable numbers. And then if the individual or entity, such as South Bay Drugs, has different numbers, then you need substantiation for those 4 categories.
So that when you say substantiation from the South Bay Drugs folks or their attorneys, that's what you're willing to discuss these if there's some way of substantiating figures other than what the redevelopment agency's consultant has come up with for numbers. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Beamer, perhaps? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I have no further public speaker slips. I'd like to close the public hearing. Any comments from my council members on this item? I'd like to entertain the motion then to adopt resolution R 10227. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from Council? Not seeing any. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5.2, Mr. Brown, one of my favorite subjects as usual.
Mayor, Council, this authorizes this Public Works Director to sign and forward the city's Jurisdictional Urban Runoff Management Program, JURMP, the annual report that's required to go to the Regional Water Quality Control Board. It's an effort to try to make sure we do our best to reduce the pollution into our water. Chris is ready to go over some of the highlights if you'd like.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this. And Chris, we've been through this before because you know how I love this subject. And, you know, just so I say, I know that you put a lot into this. And the fact that I don't really enjoy it because I was somebody that was a past mayor made me suffer through it in my very first meeting ever. And there's not much we really, as a council, can do other than trust and accept what you're trying to do and help us with our problems with urban runoff in the area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any kind of highlights you would like to add to this?
No significant. It's the same as last year and the last 2 years. We're implementing a program that has been approved the last 2 years by the regional board, so we're doing a good job.
And you feel confident that we're doing the right thing too from yourself then?
Yes.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other questions for? Please.
Yeah, I mean, this is the urban runoff management plan that the Water Quality Control Board requires that we do. It's an unfunded mandate from the state of California, so we have to find the money to pay a staff person to prepare a, 97-page report, which reflects literally thousands of hours of work on the part of our public works staff in making sure that all of the outputs that we have into the bay and the estuary and the ocean are up to the standards of the state. And when I say it's an unfunded mandate, that does not mean to say that it isn't a needed thing to have happen. We need to keep our waters clean, and we should be exercising best management practices. But it's a tremendous amount of work, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. It's a lot of work and a lot of expense that the city goes through to keep the bay and the ocean clean of pollutants.
Yeah,
Thank you for all the work that you do.
Just clarification, there's portions of this that are unfunded mandate. So.
Or portions of it,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Keep me on the straight and narrow there.
I too wanted to point out a couple of things. That there were 21 more inspections this year than last year, and I'd like to congratulate you for that. And I know it represents, as Councilmember Rose stated, a huge amount of staff hours to do that, but I believe it's beneficial for our community. The other thing I wanted to reiterate was from page 89, and implementation costs for the JURMP are approximately $1 million. So again, this is not a lightweight expenditure in our for our city budget. And I too just wanted to thank you, Chris, for the hard work on this. I know it. I know personally, just from years' experience, that this was not an easy document to even start doing. So I appreciate your continued efforts. Thank you.
Mr. King?
I want to reiterate what Councilmember Bragg said. It's a tremendous amount of work, and it really, I think, shows in the quality of our community. And just for public's sake, it's a very important thing in Imperial Beach simply because we are as close to the ocean as you can get. We're on the ocean, and all the things that go into the storm drains and into the gutters go into the ocean ultimately. So to prohibit that has a great impact not just on our streets but also on nature and wildlife and the aquatic features